So
Yeah.
why don't you start with Brendan and his journey through his autism journey, and you can get into his communication.
Okay, yeah. So Brendan was diagnosed with autism at 13 months old. And from that moment, we just hit the ground running. We got into all the therapies that we can get into. At the time, he was diagnosed on the severe side. So he was nonverbal. He wasn't really doing really much of the milestones that he had been, was supposed to be hitting. So, we started therapy. And of course, the first thing every therapist wants to do of a kid who doesn't have many words is sign language. That's like one thing that everyone came into, and they would start doing sign with him. And I couldn't figure out if he just wasn't interested, he didn't understand, or he just couldn't do it. Like, he couldn't understand it. He couldn't do it. We tried for a couple months, and I just said, he's not catching on to the sign language. Like, I don't know what to do. And everyone's like, well, sometimes it'll take a while for him to get, and, we're just going to keep doing it. Well, we had, who is his speech, therapist now. Prior to her, we had someone come in, and, I think it was Dr. Gentry might have told us, watching him in action, like, he wasn't able to wave. He wasn't able to, really hold anything. But what was funny is that we were trying to teach him to wave. We tried for months to teach him to wave. And we'd be like, Brendan, wave. And he would just look at us, or he would put his hand down here and try to do it. And he wouldn't do it. But I would watch him walk around the house when no one's around, and he would be like this. I'm like, oh God, he's waving. See, I know he can do it, but how come he won't do it when we're asking him to wave? Well, come to find out, there's something called limb apraxia. Part of it. So basically, it's where you have the communication breakdown, where your brain is telling you hey, I really want to wave, but because you're telling me to wave right now, for some reason, I can't get my brain to tell me to wave. However, I know how to wave. I just can't do it when you're asking me. Never heard of such a thing before. So the whole apraxia thing came up first because he had limb apraxia. So I realized that okay, he can't take that command of being able to do that. So we just kept working and working and working on that. And, he started to learn how to wave when we just kind of approached it a different way. So that is why sign language at that point was never going to work, because he couldn't say what his brain is telling you what he wants to do. He couldn't get that to go at the same time. So sign language was not an option anymore. I said, putting that to rest. That's just not something I'm going to do. So our ABA specialist, Joe, came in and said, hey, I know he's a little young, but I think we can start the PECS system, which again, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he's like, well, we basically start with the picture. We'll find a picture of a couple of things that, he wants throughout the day. And we teach him to communicate with the picture. So we teach him to take the picture card and bring it to you, give it, and that means he wants something, he's done, or anything. So I was like, okay, cool, this sounds great. And we started on a super small scale, to the point where in his high chair, I had a little Velcro that said, all done. So I wouldn't let him get out of the high chair until he gave me it to say all done. And I just kept reading, all done, all done. I had one in the bathtub, on the wall, that said, same thing, all done. He couldn't get out of the bath unless, he would say all done. So after we just did a couple of those, they started out with, we made a little book, and we had a book downstairs and a book upstairs. So this was his book. And I basically took pictures of every single toy, every single food he ate, any place that we went, changing his diaper, everything, you name it. I had to take a picture of it. So I mean, we didn't start off with all these pages at one time. So these were like every single show that he watched, all the foods he ate. And we started off with just a couple, because this is definitely overwhelming at first, just a couple of the things that he's going to do. I mean, pictures of the train, just everything, refrigerator. So we basically taught him that if he wanted to watch Team Umizoomi, we would put on Team Umizoomi because that was the day, because he would switch shows every day. So let's say today was a Team Umizoomi day. So his ABA therapist would put it on and he would get all excited, and then she'd pause it. And we would basically hand over hand, walk him over to it, show him Team Umizoomi, hand over hand, give it to his therapist, and then she would turn it on and we would all get really, really excited. And we just did this on repeat for, I don't even know how long. It felt like a long time, but eventually, and he would get frustrated, he'd get mad. Eventually he started to figure out, oh, if I give them this, they're going to turn it back on. And he would get like excited. And we just did that with almost every single thing. We did the same thing with his food, same thing with, if he kept wanting to go outside, we would have him, we'd have to just keep going hand over hand. So, eventually the book started, I just had to keep adding, and, you buy yourself a laminator, let's just say that, because it's worth it, I promise. And, you just keep switching things out, and it sounds like a big pain in the butt, but honestly, this was his way of communicating. And I will tell you that so many parents, tell me that their kids are having these giant meltdowns and they don't know what to do. And my first question I always ask them is, how is he communicating with you? How is he able to communicate with you? And they're like, well, he really can't. I'm like, okay, so that is problem number one. Like, it eliminated almost any kind of those behaviors, because his behaviors were, he couldn't tell me what he wanted, but he really needed it. So once we started this, it was like such a game changer for him. And then, he got to the point where he got so good at it that we moved on to, like a strip, a paper. A strip like this. So he would say, he would have to find the I want. And most of the time I just left the I want on here. And then he'd have to put, I want a banana and my moms. And then he'd bring me this whole strip and I would go, oh, and we have to repeat it. I want bananas and moms. Okay, let's go get them, and, eventually he got so good at this that it was like, okay, now it's time for a device. And honestly, I remember asking Dr. Gentry, like, well, why can't I just go to a communication device? Why do I have to do this first? And he was like, because the communication device is going to be the hardest thing for him to navigate if you don't give him some of a baseline of how to communicate. And he's totally right, because if he didn't know how to do this stuff before that device, which it's still such overwhelming, even though having to do it, he would have never been able to communicate with that. So I really feel like the PECS was, and if I have to say one thing that I had to do throughout his entire beginning journey process, it would be PECS, 100%. Like, and then this is where, like, I feel like the more we kept saying it to him, and, after a while, Joe was like, okay, just because he handed it to you, don't take it unless he makes some kind of attempt of a sound, whether he's not saying banana, obviously, but he'd go, and even then you would take it. So we would have to hold out. And that was so hard, because that was hard for him. And then Joe would tell us, okay, we'll hold out until he looks at you, gives it to you, looks at him. Like, well, we could be here for a really long time. So that's going to be fun, Yeah. So I'm like, oh, you're not going to get a word looking at me and handing it to me. That's not going to happen. But they were attempts that we tried, and we realized, okay, giving eye contact, that we tried it wasn't going to work. So, it was one of those things that it's just not his thing. And to this day, sometimes the eye contact is just not his strength.
For us, I definitely decided I was the laminating queen when I did my PECS, because I was laminating everything. And when a therapist came to us and said, we need this card, this card, this card, I was like, all right, I'm going to go. Yeah, the pictures, and we printed them off, and we
sit in this chair,
and we laminated. I was like, I had a book. I didn't have the card, like just the strip for him, he just brought us his whole binder. And the the whole binder, because the binder had the Velcro on the top. Hi, Brendan.
Hi. He's got done with the school, so that we could come in.
Yeah.
He was like looking at it, you know, and just laughing because he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember this. But what was even funnier is that when I where'd it go? Where'd the device go? Oh, he's holding it. When I charged this up today and turned it on for him, he's like, my husband went and put like, what did he say?
Oh, yeah. I have to go pee-pee.
He's like, I used to say I
have to go
pee-pee. And he's like laughing hysterically. And I'm like, yeah, you used to use this, I promise.
Clap.
Yeah.
But
so you don't remember using the device either, Brendan?
Mm-hmm. Do you remember using it?
Yeah.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit?
Yeah.
I think he remembers from like videos maybe
No.
of him doing it.
When I first met you, Brendan, you were still using it. You had words, but you were still using your device. So,
I mean, using the device for him, people always are like, well, do you think that that's going to prevent him from talking? And it was like, no, it just kept hearing it over and over and over again. And that I feel like it only helped him learn his words, you know, with it. Because sometimes I think he figured out like, well, if I just try to say it, it might be easier than going to get my device and doing it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think the whole way of giving a child on the spectrum a way to communicate is such a game changer. And you think about all the work that it was, and it is like, I'm not going to tell you that this was a walk in the park at all. But it truly, truly is a game changer. I mean, it makes the world of difference. And I mean, you know, for him after, you know, he kind of got through the limb apraxia, which just kind of went away on its own. But it's funny because it's kind of turned into that speech apraxia. Whether the speech apraxia was already there, we don't know because he didn't have any words. But I mean, for me, that apraxia, that brain connection, you know, is where his weakness is of being able to try to tell you what he wants. You know, so once he got diagnosed with the speech apraxia, you know, we found a therapist that specialized in the apraxia, and, you know, the way they approached things was the Kaufman cards. And it was, I mean, there's different ways of approaching the apraxia, but, you know, she thought, let's just start with the Kaufman cards. And that was also a game changer. Once we started focusing on these certain sounds and certain ways of saying things, you know, I didn't realize that like when he would say something, his tongue wasn't in the right place. Well, he's never going to be able to say that word because his tongue, which he still does, we work on his F's and his TH.
I have to go poop.
TH, he still gets so confused. Like, you know, the F and the th, it's not natural for him yet to just be like father. He'll be like father, like, and he can't figure out how to do that. So we kind of have to like talk him through that. But, you know, getting that diagnosis, it really helped. And it was crazy because it was just like, I'm like, how do you see that? How do you know that he's doing that? And it's weird because we would ask him, Brendan,
All done.
point to the blue card, blue, yellow, and red. And, to the card. And then we were like, okay, go give me the blue card. And like, he would bring you the red and hand it to you. And I'm like, well, point to the blue card. And he'd point to the blue card when he's giving you the red. And you're like, wait, what? Like, no, you're like, how is it that you can't understand that? Like, it was so trippy. And they would show me this on purpose to show me like, watch the way his brain thinks. Watch the way how he's trying to connect that, but he can't. Mm-hmm. And that to me was just like so crazy. But I mean, I feel like there was like no specific time frame where all the words just started coming. That's not what it was at all. I mean, his first word was outside. Like the hardest word for typical kids. It's not a word that they would say for a pretty long time. So he just liked to do things on his own way, his own time, completely out of the, out of the way you should be doing things. We even did the PECS. We didn't start with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, 5. We went out of order just because the way he was thinking, luckily I had a doctor that was like, look, we don't have to follow these phases to the T. We're going to follow what's working for him and what we think is going to work for him. And that was also good too, because we kind of just jumped. I think we went to phase 1, 2, and I think we jumped to 4 something.
And same with
helped.
Yeah, same with Henry. We jumped around the phases. I don't even remember what phase 1 and 2. I don't even remember what the phases are. He kind of just picked it up.
Right.
Once he was able to pick it up, because we tried PECS at the beginning and it didn't work, and then we tried it again like 6 months later, and he was ready for it. And like the first thing we did was have him.
Could you imagine going straight to the device? Could you imagine going straight to the device without having the PECS?
No, because the device for us, we used the PECS phases to get him to press the button
and everything else. So it's like the same thing, but they would have been they would have been so lost if they, had to just do it straight from the device. And I know everyone's like, oh, I just need to get my kid a device. Okay, well, like, hey, I hate to say this, but that's not going to be your answer. And I
do tell people, like, to get the device, start getting the device now, because it might take you a while.
That's true for sure.
And maybe work on PECS at the same time,
right? So
that you can at least show the kids can learn the pictures, and they have to learn what it is before they can ask for it. And that's what our speech therapist said. And like, he needs to know what he's asking for. He needs to know what that is. And
he gets it. What's the process?
Yeah. And so I really didn't think about that. Like for Henry, we just had pictures of like the TV and the refrigerator at the TV. We had a picture of the TV, the refrigerator. We had a picture of the refrigerator. Right. And so if he wanted the TV on, he went and he pressed the picture of the TV that's right beside the TV. So we're like, oh, you want TV. Like you said, you repeated it as you did. And that's how we started, was him just slapping the picture that's on the, the TV, the refrigerator, like his drawer, like all the different things that he might want.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we started, and then PECS, and then device and stuff. So get into a little bit, you kind of went into the device. So how was he at the device once you got it for him?
He was pretty good. I still felt like I had to like maybe take it with me to put it near him. Like he had a harder time, like if it wasn't somewhere close to him, he kind of would not want to go use it. So I kind of felt like, and I don't know if it's because he was still young, but like he just didn't like carry it. I had to have it like kind of accessible for him to use it. So that's another thing. Like, don't just assume your kid's gonna like pick it up and take it with them because it's on a handle. It's not gonna happen. Like, it doesn't work that way. Such a goofball.
Are you cheering for the 49ers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not doing so hot, but
doing one.
Yeah, I'm doing one. It's my little football guy over here.
Yep.
Well,
Brendan, let's do a little interview with you while you're here. So I'm sure everybody would like to say hi to you. So why don't you tell everyone what are your favorite things to do?
My favorite thing to do is
you have lots of them, so you can give them a couple.
I'll dance, gymnastics, baseball, football, soccer, basketball.
Mom, on your favorite thing.
Your mom is a great person, isn't she? Yeah. And so do you want to tell everyone what happened to you a little while ago? Why weren't you dancing?
My foot.
You broke your foot. Oh my gosh. Was that hard to not dance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hard. was a rough 6 weeks, but you know, he made it.
Yeah.
We definitely had some
Yay.
behaviors in other aspects, and I think it was just overall frustration with things. He is a totally routine kid, so you put something out of routine for him, like even though we were routinely still going to dance, but he was sitting there, he wasn't actually like doing dance.
That's still a team.
I mean, trust me, he still did a lot of dance on that boot. There was many times that I had to be like, stop, you're literally, this is not, like, you have to stop. And even our dance studio owner was like, he's kind of worried that he's not heal that fast. He is like being brutal to it. And I was scared too when he had to go back halfway for an x-ray. I just kept saying, oh, please don't tell me that this is healing right. Because I told him, I'm like, he's so hard on that boot. And like, he's like, I'm fine, I can't feel it. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, my kids have never broken any bones before. So this was like my first experience too. But if I told him he couldn't do any, I kept threatening him saying, I'm going to put you back on the crutches. And he'd be like, no. I'm like, okay, then you need to, like, you have to control your body. Like, I know you do all this, but control yourself. I felt like, he's gone way past, like, fidgeting stuff. Like, I kind of feel like I had to bring a little bit more of the fidgeting. Fidget spinners or just some back just to kind of help him. Because sitting still is a hard task for him. But it's funny because he's back. It's been it'll be a week tomorrow where he's been released, and it's funny after 6 weeks, like, he's exhausted. He's like totally down. I'm like, dude, you're out of shape. You got to get your stamina back up.
Slowly, right? Work your way up slowly.
And to understand where he's like, my ankle hurts, my foot hurts. I said, yeah, they're calling it like a boot foot. Like, it's gonna hurt. Like, if it doesn't hurt, if it's like a 10 out of 10 hurt, then that's a problem. But if it's just hurting a little bit, like, it's gonna hurt. And he has a hard time understanding, that difference of hurting, the same way where he can't tell you if he's hungry or his stomach hurts. Like, he'll just say my stomach hurts. And I look at the time and I'm like, it's because you're hungry. And like, he still doesn't like understand that. So it's been a little rough the last week just getting him. He's like, it hurts. Like, this part hurts. This hurts. I'm like, yeah, because you haven't done this stuff. And then he'd go try to do something. He's like throwing a tantrum because he can't do it. He's getting upset. And I'm like, you haven't done this in 6 weeks. Like, you will get it. And he would just get frustrated. Like, but I know how to do this. I'm like, I know, but you need to reteach your body. So that's been, I think in his mind, he was like, cool, I'm ready to go. I can go do this. And he's like, yeah, I can't do that. So that's been a challenge, like getting him to understand, like, it will come back. Just deep breath, and like telling our kids to have patience. Yeah, that's fun. They don't understand that.
No, they don't. I couldn't imagine Henry in a boot and not being able to run around. I couldn't.
Still find a way to run around, let me tell you. But it's hard. I felt like I was just constantly yelling at him, like, stop doing this, stop doing that, don't do that, don't do this. Like, it was hard. So, I kind of got to the point where I was like, I don't really know what else to do. If he has to take a little extra to heal, to keep him moving with it, then that's what I'm going to have to do. Like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So,
so Brendan also got an agent in LA.
Yeah. So,
you want to tell us about that?
You.
We had been contacted by them, actually, I think it was in March, like right before everything shut down. They had, were interested in him. And it's an agency through the dance world, where a lot of, some of the professional dancers have, this agent. So we had booked a trip to go out there and meet them in April, from like a live, in-person interview, but obviously that got canceled. And they were hoping that they were going to open back up. So we had just been kind of waiting. And finally, when they were like, okay, well, we're clearly not going back to the office anytime soon. So we, got to do like a Zoom kind of interview with him. And they wanted to represent him in dance. And then they also wanted to represent him on the print and commercial side of California. So that was like pretty cool. for him, with that. So because when you have an agent in Arizona, they can't touch anything basically in California because that's not their territory. So essentially, you can have an agent in every state if you really wanted to. But most people just have one in their home state and LA or New York, depending on how far you are. But
Brendan is showing off his gymnastics behind you.
Like he can't just sit still. He's always upside down. He's always doing something. Like his feet are always flying anywhere and everywhere.
And like I've been watching his. So if anyone watching, his Instagram is Brendan's Life, and you can follow him there. And I just love following your dance stuff, Brendan.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Do you know how many followers you have on Instagram, Brendan?
1,201 million. I'll just be
You have like 12,000, don't you?
You got a lot, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool because he has such a mix of autism and then dance. So, it's definitely, it's like a 50-50 of dance and autism, followers. So, but it's fun. I mean, we've met a lot of different families all over the country with autism, related things. Parents just someone to ask questions to if they think that their kid is doing this. Hey, what did your kid do at this age? So I do have, I honestly probably tell you that I get anywhere between 1 and 7 messages a day from somebody seeking a question or help or something with autism. So, again, which is kind of cool because they're from all over.
Yeah.
Doing that. But, I enjoy that. And then I love when they're like, oh, seeing your kid is giving me so much hope. And for me, that's just the biggest thing. It helps us when we're having those days where we're just like, okay, this is hard, but having someone else being able to see that your kid can do it just makes you want to try even harder for your kid to make sure, they're doing what they want to do. And we got in this whole situation. He's the kid that was like, I want to be in a commercial. I want to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, but you've got autism. I don't know. Let's figure it out. So I kind of just dove in and
yeah. I mean, again, when I first met you 5 years ago, the progress that Brendan was already having a few words. He was using his device. But then 6 months later, he wasn't really using his device and he was talking a lot more. And then 6 months later, he was almost fully verbal. And just seeing that gave me hope for Henry. And I still have hope for Henry that we're going to hear from him. But you have helped me a lot as well through the journey. And I know that you're going to help once we get the series out.
Yeah.
Help a lot of people.
Yeah. And it's just giving that parents hope that, hey, I know you just got that diagnosis of severe autism. Don't shut that wall. Just because they're telling you that does not mean that that's what you're going to have till the end. You have to be able to fight and figure out what works for your kid. And if that therapist is telling you, I can't imagine if I would have kept agreeing with the therapist going, no, we're going to just keep trying sign language. Let me tell you, that would have been a disaster. And my mom I was like, he's not understanding this. We have to move forward. And I remember one therapist, and I remember deciding that I didn't want her to come back, but she was like, no, we work with the sign language. And I'm like, this isn't going to work for him. We have tried this. I know that's the way you do it, but this isn't working. And, I know that they probably upset, but you have to follow your mom. That I get these questions that are like, well, this therapist is telling me this, or this doctor is telling me this. And I just don't know if that's right. Or if that really is the case. And I'm like, if you were already questioning yourself, then you need to try other options or go get a second opinion, whatever it may be. Maybe that person isn't the right fit. Just because that therapist is the one that's available for you, it may not be the fit for your kid. And you have